Welcome to the Co-Authoring Chronicles podcast, two voices, one tale.
Hello, everyone. I'm Helen Corvis, author, co-author, and bon vivant.
What is that? But hey, hey everyone, this is Steaphan. Good to talk to you again. And please explain what that is.
Kind of a joke. A bon vivant is actually like it's a French term for a young man who's like out there, maybe spending money foolishly, but enjoying life.
Oh, that's a cool way to be. All right, great. What are we talking about today?
Um, so today I thought we should cover something that are called the 22 rules of storytelling from Pixar. But what it really is a list of 22 tips based on the experience of Emma Coates, who at the time was a Pixar story artist. And the reason we're covering them is because I thought it's nice sometimes, even if you're an established writer, a new writer, wherever you are in your journey, it's kind of cool to see how other people think about writing and the tips that they have, and to see what resonates with you or may be helpful in your own practice.
We gotta do that all the time. But with our recent episodes, it's
Mhm.
really clear that there's lots of techniques. So I always like to use the toolbox metaphor is, pick the best tools for you that work. But there's lots of tools and lots of opinions on tools out there. So your mileage may vary, but these are some good ones I think we're going to talk about today. So which one are you going to open up with then, Helen?
Well, I thought I'd open up with probably my favorite on this list, and it's number 14. And it says, "Why must you tell this story? What's the belief burning within you that your story feeds off of?" That's the heart of it. And what I like about this is it asks more specifically a question that's direct to you as the author. Why do you have to tell this story? And I think when you look at your motivations or what's calling out to you, even though there's always discussions about, oh, I have to write to genre, don't write for yourself, or things like that. There's still always something personal about it, and there's a reason you chose to write about this. So whatever it is you're writing, I feel it in some ways tapping down into that core element of the story that really drove you in the first place will probably resonate with others. So that's my favorite
Mhm.
piece of advice.
It is a very good one. I was thinking recently about that topic, not because of this list. This was well before this list. But I was asking myself, why did I write like my first published novel of Evil and Angels? What was my motivation? And I don't think that I consciously felt that, well, I was writing a story that must be told, but that's the key thing there. Subconsciously, I think I totally was writing a story that I felt needed to be told when I do a self analysis. Very poignant point there. Can I say poignant and point? Okay. Anyways, that maybe it's conscious, maybe it's subconscious for some, or maybe I'm just out in la la land.
I think both are valid, right? Because if I look back at the writing that we're doing right now for our second book in our series of, the Void series, I think about the parts that I've written so far that are important to me are actually because it's an asexual romance.
Mhm.
And that's important to me to be represented. So,
Okay, well, I guess I have to pick one here. So I'm going to start with number two. You got to keep in mind what's interesting to you as an audience, not what's fun to do as a writer. They can be very different. So I guess this is, a constant question that has to be asked in the back of your mind while you're writing. Am I writing fluff? Am I going off binge writing on something that I like and no one else is going to care about? I think there is a balance actually. I don't want to say this one's black and white. I think you have to have a good mix because if you're, I mean, all up writing a story that you're not interested in or writing things you're not interested in, you might want to rethink your author writing career because or maybe you're just writing for what you think the market demands, and that's an approach too. I don't think that's our approach, but It is an approach.
Hmm. I think what's nice about these tips is they're all ways of challenging you to kind of revisit what it is that you might be writing and just kind of give it a little bit of a different perspective. That's what really strikes me about this. Keep in mind what's interesting to you as an audience, not what's fun as a writer. When I looked at that tip, I remember the scene that got cut from the first book, and I had written kind of like this psychedelic nightmare scene, as you called it, where our main character's brain was kind of like disintegrating on text, and I visually represented it with like the sentence structure falling apart. And I loved that.
Mm,
And it was definitely fun for me, but, it didn't make it, and I suspect one of the contemplations might have been it might not have been quite as interesting to the audience either. So I think there's like a micro and a macro way to apply all this advice as well.
yeah. And too, do you think like the sci-fi genre is more susceptible to authors writing about stuff that's fun for them, like going off on the deep end on some tech and they lose their audience? Or do you think that like sci-fi readers like that? I don't know. It's really an open-ended question.
Yeah, it really is. It's very cool. All right. So I'll go pick another one out of the list. And the next one I really liked was number 5, and it was simplify, focus, combine characters, hop over detours. You'll feel like you're losing valuable stuff, but it sets you free. And what I enjoy about this one is because I feel that sometimes I've been writing and then I'm just, we talked before about like being blocked, but sometimes the scene that I'm trying to write for, I'm like, oh, I have to explain a thing. I need to explain this thing. And, I'm going to explain it by doing this and this and this and this. And at the end, I just feel like really icky about the whole thing. And I think what I like about this phrase in some way is that phrase, like set yourself free. I feel like I'm getting tangled up in these sentences and these words because of something I feel I have to do. It's like a really nice opportunity to not, what happens if I skip that scene? Like, what do I have to do instead? And I've actually kind of enjoyed that. I don't know if, on the counterpoint, I don't know, is it lazy writing or is it, am I being creative? I can't
Mm,
tell.
This one's closely related to number 2, about writing what's interesting to you. And then maybe you mix that with this one, simplify, is keep that what's interesting to you, but just simplify it and and focus on the valuable. So I think it's a good combination supporting items in this list.
Yeah, this list really draws me back to your toolbox analogy, right? Maybe these are different size screwdrivers. I don't know.
Could be. Yep. All right. So next one, finish your story. Let go, even if it's not perfect. Oh man, I think this one, like so many authors, professional or not, long tenured and new, suffer from this is just letting go, especially those that have a penchant for editing. And, we've told stories in the past of authors that have spent years and years, multiple years, editing their very first novel before they published it. Okay, if you have that much time on your hands and that you're doing it as a hobby, I guess, but if you want to be in the business of authoring, you gotta let go. And I think that most authors, or a majority, I should say, suffer from this challenge. Um, Anyhow, you're not gonna get the next one written and published and readers reading it if you can't let go of the first one.
Yeah, I think the key in what you said is if you want to be in the business of it, right?
Yeah.
And because as a hobby, there's really nothing wrong. If you're enjoying, hopefully it's because you're enjoying yourself. But to me, it sounds like endlessly never letting go it doesn't sound like healthy in some ways, but also I don't want to harsh on anybody's like hobby either. So, but I do agree as a business, it's probably not the way to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last one for me, and it's just a really nice statement that I like. It's number 1. You admire a character for trying more than for their successes. And when I read that, It actually reminded me of our previous episode about the shape of stories, where it turns out audiences really like it when there's a moment in the story where there's a downturn in the fortunes of our character. And I thought, is that because we really are seeing like the what a person is made of? We see their struggles, we see them trying. Whereas somebody who just straight up wins, 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 like I don't that was not one of the well, it's wonderful as the happy ending, but we didn't grow to admire the character because they were winning, right? We admired them because of the way that they got there, and then when they win at the end, we're happy for them. So I
Yeah.
really liked that one.
And how many parents basically tell their children this, right? You gotta just try, do your best. If you succeed, wonderful. If not,
Yeah.
you'll get it next time. But I mean, a lot of parents tell their kids this, so it must be something that resonates with the human psyche,
Well,
you know?
yeah, I think when you bring up, like, that story about, the successes, I also feel with, like, the globalization of the internet, it's, like, very rare that you get to be, like, the best at anything, right?
Mhm,
There may be somebody, like, 3 countries to the west of you who's clearly gonna be the better, like, pencil sharpener,
mhm.
like, somebody's always the best at, like, everything, so I think that's another just very practical and good reason to think about the journey instead of the destination.
Oh, yes, wonderful T-shirt. Um, or say, okay, well, the last one then I'm gonna touch on is, what is the essence of your story? How can you most economically tell it? If you know that, you can build out from there. So I think this one is important because, especially as a pantser or discovery writer, it's easy to just kind of wander on page
Mhm.
and not be clearly moving your story along. So I think whether you're a pantser or you're an outliner, obviously if you're an outliner, but it is possible to outline a story that is all over the place as well. A lot of people assume that outliners, just have everything right. No, you can outline a sprawling, unclear, unfocused story. So either way, um, you should either have in your mind or in your outline what is the core of your story and build around that and find. I like the word most economical. I see fantasies or lots of books like 600-page books that probably could have been written in half or less and still been a great book, a great read, and maybe even got more readership because it was half the size. So, anyways, I like that one.
Mm. I love how we're wandering into potentially heretical, like, discussion here now. Stay back. Because when you said that, like, I was thinking about and I'm the one who's really gonna get in trouble for this, but, you remember if you remember the multiple plot lines that existed in Star Wars Episode 1, I think it was. There was, like, Anakin, this his little journey through the movie, and then we've got, like, the trading federation who are also up to something else, and then there was, like, a 3rd plot line involving, like, you know, um, the alien life forms or what are the Jedi up to now? And there was just so much going on, and I'm not really sure what like, if I had to do the economical telling of the stories that were told in that movie, I know the idea was to give an interweaving perspective, but for me, that's it's an odd example I think of, mainly because if I think of another, like, really giganto, um, multi-entwined storyline, I start thinking of all the multitudes of iterations of Dune, and I'm never gonna agree that that needs to be changed. That's so this is an
Yep.
interesting one for me.
Well, you know what? There is a saying, I don't know what it is, but here's the gist of that saying, which is, um, follow the rules most of the time. If you're a master, you can break the rules because you're a master at it and pull it off. But for the rest of us, we have to follow the basic, you know,
Mm,
ingredients. And I've often either been reading novels or watching movies and said out loud to people I'm watching with, there's too many threads going on here. I don't know what's going on, and it's making me frustrated.
Mm.
And so I think there is an art to doing that. But yeah.
Oh, that's a really great way to summarize it. The one I've heard is you have to know the rules before you break them. That's
Yeah.
the most economical way of
Yeah.
saying yeah.
Okay, well, those are Emma Coates's 22 storytelling tips as tweeted, and we hope you all enjoyed that. And let us know and feedback and everything if you like these types of episodes, and we'll do more of them. With that, thank you for joining. We'll talk to you later. Bye.